If you're interested in the cost of living in Vietnam right now, in this video I'm going to share my exact cost of living over the last 30 days here in Ho Chi Minh City so that you can get a sense of what the cost of living is like right now. So if you're thinking of moving to Vietnam to start teaching English or for another reason, this video should give you a good idea of what the living costs are like right now and an idea of what you might end up spending. I'm Alex from Ninja Teacher, where we help people start teaching English abroad, so let's get into it. Of course, what you end up spending here and what others do is based on your personal spending habits as well as your lifestyle. I also mentioned that it's definitely possible to live on less than I spent in the last 30 days as well. I have in the past, and I know many other people that do. And of course, you can spend a lot more than this too. It just depends on your lifestyle. But from speaking to a lot of our alumni and hearing about what they spend here, I think a lot of people spend less than this and still say that they live a really comfortable lifestyle in Vietnam. So with that being said, let's take a look at the last 30 days of my spending, which I think was a pretty typical month for me. And the way I tracked this was every day I just tallied up what I spent through Apple Pay, Pay in Cash, on the Grab app, and bank transfers through my Vietnam banking app, which in Vietnam you can do instant transfers with a QR code. It's quite convenient. And then I just added the total for the day to this tracking app, which I'll show you now, and I have the total for the month as well as a daily average, and you can actually see what I spent on every single day. And to make it easy, I'm just going to break it down into 3 categories. So we have daily spend, which is mostly food and other expenses, then accommodation, and then lastly transport. Okay, so let's dive into the app and take a look. So here's the tracking app, and along the bottom here you can see the daily spend. So that's how much I spent in Vietnamese dong each day. There's a couple of days that I skipped, but actually I tracked 35 days total. So this is more than 30 days. There's just 1 or 2 days that I skipped because I was quite busy and didn't tally up the days. But you can see 35 total track days. Okay, and then you can see here the average is 510,000 dong per day, which is just around 19 US dollars. So if you're from the US, you can just think of 500K is about $19, and then of course if you're going up to like 1 million, then it's nearly $40. So I think that's pretty good. That's all of my expenses, excluding accommodation and transport. And as you'll see later, transport was quite low. So the biggest expense here is food by far. There's other small things like toiletries, just going out and buying small things here and there that I needed. But the vast majority of this is food, either going out to eat or ordering food, because I actually don't cook that much, and I think in this last 30 days, other than breakfast, I didn't cook any meals. So this is quite a good example. If you like to go out and eat or order food and don't like to cook that much, of course you can buy groceries and cook. You might even be saving more. But I think that's one of the great things about Vietnam. It's so affordable to eat out and order food that myself and I know many other people often just go out to eat or order food as well. So let's break down the daily spend a little bit more. A lot of these days are around 200 to 300K, maybe up to 400. All these ones that are in green are below 500K per day. And you can see some days for like 200K. So that's less than a $10 day. Plenty that are around 200, 200 and something, 300K, 200, 350, 410. So a lot of these days I only spend about $10 or so, and then, you know, up to $20 on these days that are more like closer to 500K per day. Okay, so what does one of these cheaper days look like? Well, that's just a normal day for me. So if I have breakfast, it might be just something like oats or fruits or a protein shake. And then normally I'll either eat out or order food for the meals in the afternoon and the evening. And one of the best things about Vietnam is you can go out to a local restaurant and get a meal for around 40 to 60K. I would say you can find a meal for that amount on pretty much any street. And that's just gonna be a simple Vietnamese dish, but a lot of the time that's what I'll have for lunch. Just go out and have some delicious Vietnamese food that will be less than 60K, so around $2 to $3 for a meal. And if you walk outside here from Ninja Teacher, there's just literally dozens and dozens of restaurants where you can get a meal for that price. So that's why it's actually really easy to have a day where you spend 200,000 or something like that for the day, because if you get 2 meals like that per day, then you've only spent 100 to 200K per day, which is not a lot of money. So that's why you can see there's so many of these days where that's just like a normal work day for me. I'm going out and either eating out or ordering something. If you order off the Grab app, which I'll talk about in a minute, it's actually quite affordable. They only put on maybe $1 for the delivery fee, and sometimes you get discounts, so it's even less than that. And then if I don't make a coffee myself, I'm usually going out and getting one. You can get a Vietnamese coffee from anywhere from 20K to 30K for a local coffee. And if you want a latte or cappuccino, it might be more like 50 to 70K. So pretty much grabbing coffee every day, maybe some snacks, things like that. And what if you don't want to always eat Vietnamese food? So let me show you the Grab app and show you some of the orders that I've made so that you can get a sense of what the prices of international food are. Because I would say I eat about 50-50 Vietnamese food and then international food, whether that's something more Western or other Asian dishes like Japanese or Korean or things like that. Here are a couple of examples of other dishes. So you can see a meal here from Kebabi, which is 209K. This is a pretty good restaurant. They have this chicken bowl here, really healthy and tasty, like extra bread, and that came out to around 200K, including the delivery fee. There's another one, In's Kitchen. They have a mix of different things. They've got some pretty good pizzas for like 240K there with a sourdough base. Chicken shawarma bowl, this is really good. Yeah, again, like pretty healthy. This place, Texas Chicken, it's kind of fast food, but pretty tasty. And you can see the prices here are pretty good. This is a small wrap, but it's only 33K. It's a small burger, but like salad, burger, and a wrap, and came to 121,000, including the delivery fee. This place is great. It's actually steak, and I only spent 144K on a 200-gram steak. So you can see here they have a 200-gram steak, pretty good quality. It comes with a little bit of veggies and some garlic bread, and it's only 200K, but then there's often discounts on it, so that's why it only costs 144K for a 200-gram steak, like delivered to your door in 20 minutes or so. That is really awesome. Here's an example of some Vietnamese food, banh mi, 42,000 plus the delivery fee is 70. Usually you get more discounts when the fee is higher, and that's just a beef banh mi. This place is a bit more pricey than some others. If you just go to a local shop, it's going to be cheaper than this, but this is just one option online. Here's an example of some other cuisines. We've got some Korean food. I only spent 104K on this meal and got this bulgogi soup, which has beef and came with rice and these egg kimbap type things, which were really good, and extra kimchi, and that was a pretty big and filling meal. And international food in Vietnam is typically a bit more expensive than Vietnamese food, but more and more there's affordable options as well, like this place. That's really not bad at all, and it's international food, but you're not paying much higher than Vietnamese food. And then there's plenty of healthy options too. Rosemary here is one of my go-tos for a healthy salad. 120K, including delivery fee. They have this Mexican chicken quinoa salad, really good. And it's big. It doesn't even look that big there, but it's a big portion, like this big. That's before all the discounts, and then with the discounts, including the delivery fee, only 120K. The last one I'll show you here is some Western food. We've got an order here from Chiquita, which they've got burgers and chicken and things like that. But even the burgers, they're quite well done, so it doesn't feel like fast food. And they have some healthy options here. Chicken tenders with rice and veggies and an egg, and that's only 88K. Chicken burger is really good. Comes with vegetables and fries. And then with the discounts, it only came to 201K with delivery fee as well. So hopefully that gives you a pretty good sense of like the range of prices. And as I mentioned, Vietnamese dishes out at a local restaurant, 40 to 60K, you can get a huge variety of different options. So if you want to just go out and eat for pretty much every meal, you can get something in that range. If you want some extras and sides and stuff, maybe up to 100K, but seriously, hundreds and hundreds of options in that price range. So if you like eating mostly Vietnamese food, you can actually spend quite a lot less than I do, because I'm about 50-50 with international food and Vietnamese food. Okay, so you're probably wondering about these higher expenses days. So these are basically just days when I'm out for the whole day, and it's including lunch and dinner for 2 people, maybe dinner and drinks, entertainment, going out to movies, going to cafes, maybe going to a bakery, getting some snacks. So basically like a whole day out for 2 people. And I'll show you a couple of examples here. So this day on the 24th was going out to a really nice restaurant on the river with some pasta and Italian food. And then I don't remember exactly what else, but probably going out to a cafe and buying a few things here and there. So those more expensive days are like full days out, spending on all sorts of things to have like a really nice day out. This day on the 3rd was going out to really nice Thai restaurants And again, don't really remember exactly everything else, but it was also going around and about and probably going to, I think, Maru, which is like a chocolate store, and they have like really good hot chocolate and different desserts. And it was probably brunch somewhere as well. There's some really good brunch places around the city. So those more expensive days are for 2 people for like a whole day out. So hopefully that gives you a good sense of day-to-day spending here. And here the total is, it was 17,746,000 dong, which is 672 US dollars. So again, that's for everything, excluding accommodation and transport. Okay, so let's talk about accommodation. I spend 14 million dong per month on rent, which is in a nice high-rise building with a view of the city, and there's a pool in the building as well. I think a lot of our English teachers find accommodation in the range of about 9 million to 13 million per month, and you can usually get an apartment in a central district for that, or if you're willing to go out a little bit further from the city center, then you can usually get like a 2-bedroom for around that price. We've got a couple of videos on this channel, one where we showed you some apartments for around 400 US dollars in very central districts, so you can watch that video. One of those apartments is where one of our alumni lived, and gives you a good sense of what you can get in a very central area of the city for around 400 US dollars. And we have another one where an alumni showed us his apartment for only $340, which was a 2-bedroom out in District 9, so a little bit further out, but gives you a good sense of what you can get if you're willing to be in a further out district for around that price. Electricity for me is usually about 1 to 2 million dong per month, and that's using the AC pretty much all the time. I've got air conditioning on when I'm at home, and this month I paid 1.2 million dong for the electricity. So the total for my accommodation plus electricity is 15.2 million, which is $577. There are a lot of options for accommodation in Ho Chi Minh City, and the process is actually really easy to get an apartment. Usually an agent will show you a few places, and you can sign up without much red tape, and the process goes really quickly to find an apartment. And of course there are really fancy apartments which will be a lot more expensive than this, of course, but there's some great options around what I spend and even less than that as well. Okay, the last category is transportation, and this is a pretty easy one for me. At the moment I'm just renting a motorbike. It's a Honda Blade, I think the most common motorbike in Vietnam, and I've owned motorbikes in the past, but I'm just renting at the moment for convenience, and I only pay 1.2 million per month for motorbike rental. And then for gas, I only pay 60,000 dong to fill up, and in the last month I only filled up twice, so it was 120,000 dong to pay for gas, petrol for the whole month. So the total for the month came to 1,320,000, which is $50 on the dot. So it can be really cheap to get around if you have your own motorbike. I do occasionally use Grab cars when I don't feel like riding. I didn't account for it here, but in the last 30 days when I did use a Grab car, that was accounted for in that daily tracking. Now, if you don't ride a motorbike, your best option is to use Grab. The app that I showed you also has a transportation feature, and Grab bikes are very affordable. It's not even comparable to using Uber or another ride-sharing service in your home country, because for most people that's not a full-time transportation option, versus here the price makes it very affordable, especially with the Grab bikes. So using Grab bike, it can be as little as a few dollars to get all the way across the city. Grab cars are going to be more expensive, so I'd recommend getting used to being on the back of a motorbike and only use Grab cars when you want to be out of the rain or take a break from bikes. But some of our Vietnam TEFL program participants, when they first arrive here, prefer not to go on bikes straight away, so they'll take Grab cars. It's going to be a bit pricier then, but once you're mostly using Grab bikes and occasionally Grab cars, your transportation costs aren't going to be a lot. So if I'm paying 1.3 million for renting a bike, maybe you'll pay 2 million, 3 million for transportation using Grab only. Of course, this can go up and down depending on how far you're commuting. So I'm just giving you an estimate, but it is very affordable to use Grab bikes to get around. There's also a public bus system and the new metro line. It's only about 6K, so you can also use public transport to make the cost even lower than using Grab. Okay, so let's take a look at the total for everything included for me. The total for the month came to 34,266,000, which is $1,299.31. So hopefully that gives you a good sense of what the general cost of living is and my exact cost of living, so that you can know more or less what you might spend based on what you saw me spending. And as mentioned, this really depends on your personal spending habits and lifestyle, but I do know lots of people that have spent less than this. I have in the past as well, but hopefully overall this gives you a sense of what you might be able to spend while living here. And for me, this is living really comfortably and I'm happy with my lifestyle. I don't feel like I need to spend much more than I do, but overall I hope that gave you a good sense of what you might end up spending. And if you're interested in what you can earn as an English teacher in Vietnam, you can click the link below and download a free copy of our Teaching English in Vietnam guide to get a better sense of what you can earn as an English teacher here, a bit more about the living costs, as well as the startup costs you need to get started teaching in Vietnam. If you'd like to watch one of the videos I mentioned about apartments, you can watch one of them right here. Subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more videos about teaching English and life abroad. Speak to you soon. Peace.